many of y'all have not had me in a class yet? All right. Tell me something you found out.
You hold multiple degrees.
Yes, I hold multiple degrees. Not only in academia, but in culinary as well. I went to a chef's training program after I did my bachelor's degree. Tell me something.
I know that you run food and beverage. Well, I know you host food and beverage events inside of the Holiday Inn restaurant.
I was hired here away from Purdue to come to Memphis to work on the food and beverage classes. Now, I loved Purdue, but it snows up there like a lot, and they never cancel school. One of the most attractive things about coming to Memphis was two, the awesome food scene. One, the awesome food scene, and two, no snow. Or at least if there's a threat of snow, what happens?
Peace out.
School gets canceled. Yes. Even just, the bridges might ice up, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you have to, and there's 27 inches of snow on the ground, and they're like, yeah, no, school, we have class. And it takes you 10 miles to get in, and you've got to wait for the county plow. It's a big deal. But originally, a million years ago, does anyone else have anything more obscure than who else has not had me in class?
Where you're like active with the culinary camp for kids.
Camp Culinary, yeah. Before everybody else had Camp Culinary, down in South Louisiana, I was teaching 9, 10, and 11-year-olds how to hold a chef's knife, how to debone a chicken, and teaching them how to cook. Many of them who then now are in the program at the culinary school where I used to teach, which is kind of cool. You get someone sparked early enough, if they like it, they may just come back to your school for a degree, which was my plan all along. What else? Anything else? I'm originally from Chicago. In case you haven't figured out, I am not from the South. That makes me a Cubs fan and a diehard one today. It's going to be their game today. Are there any Yankees fans in here? Yeah, I'm sorry. My husband's from New York. I know exactly what that's like. When I went to get a degree, I mean, it was always a foregone conclusion that I was going to go to college, right? My house, you graduated high school and you went to college. I was so excited to go to college that when I got luggage for Christmas, a million years ago, before any of you were even thought of, except for maybe, one. I said maybe one. I packed all my clothes at Christmas, right? All my winter stuff, I was like all ready, because I was ready to go to college. This is in January. I had to unpack to go on vacation that year, that final senior year after graduation, and then repack to go to college. That's how excited I was. I picked a college that was 8 hours away from my parents so that they would have to call. They couldn't just surprise me for a visit. Now in hindsight, well, that seemed like a great idea at the time, but boy, that drive sucked. I went on and I got a degree in what I thought I wanted to get a degree in, and that was business. You make money in business. My father was in business. He worked for AT&T. He worked for the same company for 33 years before he retired. I thought, okay, my dad's pretty successful. He's been able to fund 6 kids through high school, and then we were all on our own for college. But it kept our family afloat. We had a nice house. We were pretty much middle-class America. I thought, I'm going to do that. Well, what am I going to get a degree in? It's different now, where you really think about and try before you buy and see what your passion is. This was all about trying to figure out what I'm going to do, how am I going to make money to live. So I got a degree in business. Okay, just like my dad. All right. So I went, and when I graduated a million years ago in the 80s, there were no jobs. It was like the height of we aren't hiring. I actually started as an accountant, as a bank teller, counting money. And I counted lots of other people's money, so much so that it fueled the desire that I wanted to make my own money. Eventually, I got a job that was parallel to my degree. My degree was in marketing, and that was inside sales at print manufacturing. Now, inside sales at print manufacturing does not sound like, the be-all and the end-all. I graduated college, but it was a start after being a teller for about 9 months and then finding this job. Inside sales, it was a hotshot job. I worked jobs that needed to be printed within 24, 48, or 72 hours, which meant an order would come in and 24 hours later, forms would go out, whether they're like the credit card forms or forms for a business or folios for hotels. If it was printed, I would price it and we would get it turned around in 24 hours, and it was crazy money. But I really liked it. It was fast-paced and it was exciting. So much so that I started at an independent manufacturer and then went on to a company called More Business Forms, which is a huge print manufacturing company. I don't know that it's still in business now, but I was really good at it, and I made a lot of money. In the 80s, I was making $35,000. Not too bad it was about a year out of college. I was a single person. I mean, heck, if I had that salary now here in Memphis, I'd be doing okay. Not great, but as a first job a million years ago, yeah, I never saved any of that money. But as good as I was at the job, I didn't like it. Okay? I would go home and in my sleep, I would work my job. My husband would tell me, "You're tapping on my forehead again. You're typing up. You're quoting jobs." I would go home to de-stress and I would cook. Okay, I'd bring the food back to the office, and then my cohorts would be like, you should go to culinary school. Now this was when culinary school wasn't even cool yet. They were just starting out. Food Network didn't exist yet. So I looked into culinary school and I found one that was reasonable. It had a 2-year wait list to get in. So I worked for 2 years. Every semester when they did an enrollment, I would go in the morning and stand and wait. The advisor, "No, Carol, I don't have a spot for you." He said that to me 6 times. After 2 years, you fall off the list. You got to get back on before you can get real close again. The last time that I was eligible, he's like, "I don't have a seat for you, but come on in." He says, "Come on in, and someone's bound to drop." And someone did drop, and I got their spot because I had been going since the beginning, even though I wasn't technically officially enrolled. I went to school at a Washburn Trade School for 88 weeks. In that program, you went to school from 7 to 3, but the caveat was that you had to have a job in industry from 3 to 11. Now, with that, first I was making all this money. I had a great car, I had a nice apartment, anything. Oh, I want that, oh, I want that. Well, I had to quit that job to go to culinary school, and the job that I got was at a place called Walker Brothers Pancake House, and it was for $3.86 an hour. That was minimum at the time, a jillion years ago. And I did it because I had saved some money for the school and did all that, and we did some planning. I did that for 88 weeks, and then I finally got hired at Hyatt Company. And I worked for the Hyatt hotels in Oak Park. I don't know that it was Oak Park. But anyway, in the south suburb of Chicago, where McDonald's Hamburger University was. McDonald's Hamburger University had their corporate training headquarters that anyone who had a franchise had to go through this program. And I worked in the open kitchen and got to meet all these manager owners who then were going to go on and train. I worked there for 3 years. When I was there, I got to meet Michael Jordan, which was cool, right? He came right up to my line, and I turn around because it was an open kitchen, and all I see is like a torso. I'm like, can I help you? Like, yeah, I would like some grilled chicken. Would you like fries with that? No, but I'll have 2 baked potatoes. Okay. That was pretty much my exchange. You know, you can't really single him out. He was a franchise owner, or no, he was cutting a commercial for McDonald's at the time. And that was my big brush with fame early on. After that, I was working my way up, started as a prep cook, and went to banquet chef, working in the Hyatt Hotel. Hyatt Hotel was notorious in the 90s for with a glass ceiling. There was no promoting of chefs to anything higher than just a line chef. Okay, I didn't know that at the time, and you know, you kept trying to knock on it, you keep trying to do good, but I could never get promoted. At the time, my husband came home and said, guess what, we're moving. I found a new place for us to live. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Where? He's like, Louisiana. Now, I'm good with geography, but I had no idea. I'm like, where? He's like, we're going to move to Baton Rouge. I had to pull out the map. Okay, then they were paper. Pull it out, and I'm like, okay. I didn't know what I was going to do. There was no Hyatt in Baton Rouge. The closest Hyatt was in New Orleans, which was 60 miles down the highway. So what I did was, I wrote all the companies. I got out the visitor's guide for Baton Rouge, found all the 4 and 5 star restaurants, wrote them all, saying I'm relocating to the area, here's my resume, I would love the opportunity to discuss employment. Okay, I sent out, I don't know, about 30 letters, like a cold call. I heard back from 11. Okay. Of those 11, when I got down to Baton Rouge, I went and ate at all of them. Because I figured if I liked the food before I started there, I would like to work there. You know, we were on the same level. Of the 11 that we ate at, I took interviews at 5. Okay. They all offered jobs. But the 2 highest paid ones, one was for $6 an hour. Okay. I was up to 12 or 13 at Hyatt, but you got to start all over again, because one of the things in hospitality, or at least in culinary, is you're only as good as your last meal. Okay? And my last meal was in Chicago, and nobody had tasted it. So $6 an hour, or $6.25 an hour. Now $6.25 was at a pizza shop, like a artisan wood-burning pizza shop, very small, but they did lots of great food. And they gave you 2 chef coats. And $6 an hour, which was a big deal, because they were like 25 bucks a piece, right? Now they're 50. So that, you know, it's if I'm looking at the pennies, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Now the other one was $6 an hour, and it was a prep cook, and I had to buy my own uniforms. This was my decision. This was my fork in the road. What am I going to do? Take a quarter more and have uniforms and be okay? Or this other job? Now, this other job was for a man named Chef John Folse. Chef John Folse owned a catering company, and he owned an antebellum plantation. The place where I was going to work looked like Gone with the Wind, with the columns and the big trees and azaleas everywhere. And okay, much like people who buy wine because the bottle looks pretty, I went to work for that guy because it was pretty. I thought, I know if I'm going to work somewhere, rather than being in an old dark pizza under the viaduct sort of place, it wasn't pretty. This was gorgeous. It was open air. There was a pond. I felt like, Gone with the Wind. Ashley. Now you got to think. I was from Chicago, so Gone with the Wind was a big thing. Moving to the South was a big thing. People talk strange down there. Not that they don't hear either, but that's a whole other story. Now, so this guy, Chef Fultz, and if you look him up, you'll figure out that I made the right decision that day, even though it was less money and even though I wasn't getting uniforms, because this guy did everything. Okay, he had this catering company, he had this fine dining restaurant, he was soon to start manufacturing, and all I did was work my ass off. Okay? Keep your mouth shut, keep your eyes on your own cutting board. This was in the 90s now, and I'm thinking, a female chef in the South is never going to happen. I'm never going to get promoted. Well, boy, was I wrong, because my mentor, John Foles, promoted people who worked. I just worked my butt off. And I started at $6 an hour. Within 3 years, I was named his executive chef of White Oak Plantation and was making around $44,000 to $50,000, which is decent money. I'm not gonna, for someone who was doing what she loved, I got to do a lot of it and I got to make money. So the find your passion and the money will find you is true. Okay? But I was very fortunate that I was in an environment that supported that. Okay? With that, with Chef, what I learned was, well, get there before he does, leave after he does, and never say no. And learn everything you can, which is what I did. With that, I was able to, while working for Chef Fultz, I worked on a PBS television show. I worked on 4 seasons of A Taste of the South, A Taste of Louisiana. I did cookbook design. I did photo shots for cookbooks. I actually have some down in my office if you want to see. I'm in one, preserved forever on page 36. I was able to become a radio producer. Now, never in my wildest dreams. I started as a business major. I wanted to cook, and suddenly I am contracting guests and producing radio shows on the radio, and we were cooking, so like we actually physically cooked, even though no one could see it, no one could smell it, no one could taste it. We were cooking and having a good time. And we did shows with history all about Louisiana, and it was good. I was there for 10 years. I learned the craft of Cajun and Creole cuisine, and for that I am eternally grateful. I learned that onion, celery, bell pepper, garlic is the key to everything, even if it's breakfast, even if it's dessert.
And a stick of butter to everything else?
Yeah, and a stick of butter. That's from Julia Child. But Chef challenged you every day, and I never thought that I would go as far as I did. Well, one day, a university came and offered him a namesake, the Chef John Fultz Culinary Institute. He had to teach a class. He's like, come on, we're gonna go teach a class. So suddenly I was thrust into cooking and showing students how to cook Cajun and Creole cuisine, even though I was a damn Yankee, which, was a big deal. And it was very contentious in my kitchen sometimes, especially with some of the older cooks. And that's what I was called, not chef, damn Yankee. That's okay. With the opportunity of teaching at the school, the dean of the culinary school said, hey, do you want to teach? And I'm like, I'm helping chef. And he's like, no, do you want to come teach? And I didn't. I had a nice kitchen. I had a great staff. I had, Gone with the Wind. I thought, okay, everything's great. I had Tara, I guess. But never in my mind did I think I wanted to cook. And he's like, okay, hey, though, can you help me out? All right. He goes, I'm going out of town. I need you to sub a class for me. Can you do that? I said, sure, I guess. Because I was helping with Chef and teaching his class in Cajun and Creole. He goes, you can teach anything you want. Really? I said, he goes, what do you want to teach? I said, well, I know herbs. I can teach herbs. So we did a whole class on fresh herbs and identification and cooking with fresh herbs versus dry herbs and all this stuff. After it was over the next Monday, he called me. He's like, how'd it go? It's okay. Good. Something you might want to do? No, I like teaching. I mean, I like being the executive chef of a very nice property. Because I tell you what, I need another favor. I said, what is it? He goes, I'm going out of town again for a conference this time. Can you teach a class on charcuterie? And I'm like, charcuterie? He's like, yeah, sausage making something. I said, well, yeah, I can make sausage, and I can show people how to make sausage. So it wasn't something that I was familiar with, so I had to make sure that I knew it, and I learned it. And then I went and I got all set up, and I'm thinking, right before I started, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't, all these, they're college kids, they were paying. I can't do it. And one of the other instructors comes over and goes, just tell them what you know. And then eat. Okay, so I did. Afterwards, 3 days later, Dr. Chesser calls me and says, how'd it go? Well, I think they learned something. I was like, huh? He goes, you could come back to school and get a degree and teach while you're here. I said, I don't want to go back to school. So I fought all the way the very thing that I absolutely love to do, because I thought chefing was the bee's knees and I didn't want to go any farther. I was able to come to culinary school and teach culinary, and in the meantime get an MBA. And somewhere along the way figured out, hey, I kind of like this teaching thing, and I get to cook. This isn't a bad deal. So I sort of walked into it backwards, kicking and screaming, even though the people around me, my chef John Foles, the dean of the school, and my peers were like, you should probably do this. It's pretty good. It's a good gig. And I did. After I taught at the culinary school for about 7 years, I then went on and figured out you can only get promoted so far with a master's degree in in academia. You need a PhD. Now there's 3 prongs of teaching. One is academic, teaching, research, and service. Well, I do a lot of volunteering. I did then. I had that. What I didn't have was the research. So I picked the best research school I could find that had a hospitality program and went there. I applied as a graduate student. Okay? Now to go from like $60,000 a year as an assistant professor to a graduate student that makes, $12,800 a year was a big switch for me. And I was like, well, I'm going to take out loans. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to live very frugally. I got there, I applied, and the department head called and said, hey, what do you think about teaching here? And I'm thinking, at Purdue? Because of my skill set, because of my degrees, because of my experience in teaching in a food lab setting, I was able to go on as a assistant professor at Purdue while I was working on my degree, and I could only go part-time, and I taught full-time, so I did not have to live on $12,800. I had to live on substantially less than 60, but I did okay by my standards. And 7 years later, I got my degree. That degree was also parlayed to, once I got my terminal degree, they were going to make me a permanent line item, which means I didn't have to interview for the job. And I taught for a few more years at Purdue while going through the tenure process. But in the meantime, University of Memphis called, and there was a professor here who said, hey, it doesn't snow here, and we got great barbecue. And I came down and interviewed, and that's how I ended up here in Memphis. But the main thing that I takeaway was to never say never, to be the first one to leave and the first one to get there and the last one to leave. But more importantly than that, I found someone who was driven, who was a mentor, who was very successful, and I did whatever they did. I was very, very fortunate to have Chef John Folse in my corner. Now he's still a big deal down there, and he's still, you know, making waves with the restaurant on Bourbon Street, and cookbooks and manufacturing and the school and all that. And now he's got students that do the exact same thing, his culinary students that are all namesakes of the school. But in a million years, if someone would have said when I graduated and I thought I'm going into business, you know, from a mayonnaise jar in New Jersey, here you are, you're going to be a professor at a university. I would have been, no way. Just no way. That's not what you're going to move to South Louisiana. You're going to move to Memphis. I don't think so. I'm from Chicago. I liked it there. But you never know where the twists are going to come. The difference between $6 and $6.25 and 2 uniforms seemed like a minor decision, but it was the most crucial in my life in terms of my trajectory for the rest of my career. Do I regret it? I don't know, sometimes. No. Do I love teaching? I love teaching. Do I love volunteering? Those of you that work the Food and Wine Festival, I love volunteering, yes. Yeah. Do I love Camp Culinary still? Yes, still waiting to put it back into practice here. And I think we're going to be able to do that at the Crosstown Concourse. Do I love Memphis? Absolutely. Now my research when I was at Purdue was on destination branding through food. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Basically using food, basically using the food, local specialties to ultimately get people to actually start coming.
Right. Where people are see something and say, I got to go there and try that. You know, that they make that food the reason they're coming. Now, who asked the question about barbecue? Don't make me pull this question about barbecue, and we're known for barbecue, but people don't eat it. What's your question so everyone else can know? You kind of remember it?
We were talking about branding, and I was thinking like, because I'm not from here, and I thought it was all going to be, you know, like Elvis and barbecue everywhere, but I don't know too many people that like listen to Elvis or like eat barbecue more than like once a week or every couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? So it's like false advertising to me.
You ain't getting invited to cookouts, that's the problem, that's your problem.
Yeah, you need an invitation. There people do eat barbecue more than just once a week, but maybe not at a restaurant. But the fact that Memphis was built on barbecue, the shop, the Rendezvous, okay, famous for their ribs. Does anyone eat there?
Yeah.
No.
Do you like it?
Well, it's free to me, so.
Why? You work there?
No, my best friend does.
Okay.
Server, so.
So I don't want to hear if he's doing something bad with the checks. That would be bad to know.
He's looking it up.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Now,
Not totally different.
the Rendezvous is actually owned by a Greek family. Okay? The people that knew barbecue were the cooks. Originally, it opened as a sandwich shop. Ham and cheeses, they were known for. When they expanded the restaurant and broke out a wall, they found the chutes, and they said, hey, we could put our grills down here, or smokers down here, draft the smoke, and not get rained on. And that's really when the barbecue started. Now, the Rendezvous isn't the oldest barbecue restaurant in Memphis, but it was the most legitimate. What does that mean? It means it was a place where you could bring a date, okay? The original barbecue, does anyone know?
Was it Leonard's?
Leonard's.
And they might have moving from South Park, they might have moving from South Memphis to their now location off of Mount Moriah.
Right.
I know.
But it was more of a backyard pickup, picnic table, people drinking beer, nowhere you'd bring a date to. So that's when I say Rendezvous gets all the credit because they legitimized barbecue.
That's the thing.
Now, there's also old school barbecue, generational recipes, and there's competition style, which is Memphis in May. And 40 years ago, there was a group of Memphians that got together and said, we need to figure out how to like bring people here. And they had a barbecue cook-off. And they started highlighting different countries that they wanted to do business with and bringing them here sort of as an ambassador of goodwill. And it was just to promote the city. Well, 40 years later, it's still going strong. Now, that original first barbecue competition, there was a restaurant in the running called the Barbecue Shop. Has anyone ever eaten there? Okay. What do you think there is?
I didn't have ribs, I had barbecue.
Spaghetti?
Not just like a barbecue sandwich.
Uh-huh. What'd you ask?
Something.
Okay. They were in the competition because, you know, okay, we're going to enter. They entered their ribs. They thought it was over. They turned in their plates. They're like, whoo, let's party. They ate all the rest of the ribs. Did not know that there was a second round if you made it to the top 10. So when they came back for the finals, like the best of the best judging to rank them 1, 2, and 3, they had no more ribs left because everybody partied and ate them. But honest, if you go there, their ribs are award-winning. After that competition, they never entered another one because they didn't need to know how good their barbecue was. They've been in business for over 40 years, and there you go. Now,
What's the name of that one?
Barbecue Shop on Madison. Now, does anyone have any questions?
If you could go back and like take back your business degree and your years of success in marketing, would you have started pursuing culinary sooner?
No, I don't think so.
You like that impressive?
The thing is you don't know what you don't know back then. And it was the right decision at the time. You always have permission to change your mind and change. The thing is you gotta keep moving forward, whatever it is. And, you know, when I was in and just had switched to culinary school and went to $3.86 an hour, I thought I made the hugest mistake of my life, right? When I finally figured out that Hyatt had a glass ceiling and I was never gonna move any farther, I thought my world was over. When I moved to the South, I thought, forget about it. I am never gonna be legitimized as a female chef. Everything that I thought, I was proved wrong. The thing is you can't give up. Working for the Hyatt, even though it was 3 or 4 years, would I change it? No. Because I learned a lot there. I learned more from the operators going through the management training process about customer service, about asking the right questions, about giving the responses, and customer care. Now, I've been cooking since 3rd grade. That's because my mom worked full time and she was exhausted by the time she came home. If I didn't cook, no one was eating, and there were 8 of us. So, did I love cooking at the time? No, I thought it was a chore. I don't know when when it was finally a diversion from my job that I hated, I finally figured out that it clicked. I kind of like this. This is kind of my jam. I want to do it some more. As a cook, you're always at the party, but you're never partying.
Right.
True story in the world.
But it doesn't mean you can't have fun. Your second family is your your kitchen family, and you end up spending a lot of time with them, and more than your own family, actually. It wasn't until I switched into academia that I actually, experienced Thanksgiving without having to cook for 1,000 people,
That's true.
and vice versa.
But to you, that was Thanksgiving.
It was. But to my parents and my family and my husband at the time, it was like, what's the deal? So there were a lot of trade-offs, I suppose, I made in the decisions that I made in terms of family. I don't know. It was a tough decision. My first marriage didn't last through my culinary endeavors because I was so devoted to working and the work ethic that it just sort of, we went our separate ways. And those are conscious decisions that you gotta make. Was it right? I don't know. Could I have done it? Keep looking forward, keep moving forward. Those are the most important things. I have cooked for governors, heads of state. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is my hero, and I got to cook for her. Clarence Thomas, I got to cook for him. When I was in South Louisiana, the LSU Law School always had a Supreme Court justice come in, and my property got to go and cook for them, and that was pretty cool. You're thinking, okay, they're just people. I know, but they're kind of big deal celebrity people. And, no, I didn't get to talk to them. I did get to shake Bill Clinton's hand. Governor of Louisiana, who's now in prison. Governor of Illinois, now in prison. So, these things happen.
Give your handshake exposes the lies.
I don't know. But it's cool just to be part of it, to be in the room, cooking for the Beach Boys. For me, that's a big deal. I grew up with Endless Summer, right? I know all the lyrics, and you're thinking, on the vinyl. This is before you could look them up. You had to, listen to them. That was a big deal. Would I change it? No. Do I encourage you when we have items like child advocacy, like we usually volunteer for Barbecue Fest. The Memphis Food and Wine Experience. That thing blows my mind. 40 chefs from over the world, 50 vintners from all over the globe, coming to Memphis at $250 a ticket. Now, I had a front row seat, but I was clearing plates, just like everybody else. My mother-in-law got my free tickets. But
Marcus Saul showed up.
yeah, Marcus Saul was there. That was cool. What was funny was you look for the celebrity chefs, but then all of a sudden a Grizzlies player walks by and everyone's like, "Chef who? Give me, I want a selfie." So that was kind of cool. But it was an awesome experience. Am I going to do it again? Absolutely. Would I rather volunteer than go? I'm not sure, because everybody that I gave tickets to really had a fabulous time. But but if my students are going to volunteer, I'm going to volunteer with them.
Well, that's how we went to Anime Blues for the first time ever.
Now, the other thing that we have here in town that my husband runs, that's actually based on my, what time is it?
We
still have,
full 20 some minutes.
Yeah. We have a food tour business based on the destination branding through food, based on the premise people come here for the food. They come here for a lot more. But to understand a destination in the context of the food that you're consuming with regards to why greens are important, or greens and hot water cornbread. What is the connection there to Memphis? Why comfort food is important and why you're tasting it. And also why ribs are important. Why is barbecue so important? What does it really mean to Memphis? And asking someone what the best barbecue is in Memphis, that's like a fighting question. I mean, people are so polarized and divided that it really depends on where you grew up and what you experienced as your first best barbecue as to what you will truly believe is your favorite barbecue.
Middle of the track.
The commissary.
Commissary is my favorite. I'm a Germantown girl.
Do you have the best barbecue?
What's it? Is it?
A&R. You know that stands for Arthur and Rose?
I used to be, that's like a family member, so I used to eat over there all the time.
I love their brisket. Their brisket, hands down, chopped. And taste it without, it's part of our tour. But yes, and when they were on 3rd Street, it was great.
It's not even just restaurants though. Like growing up with my brothers playing baseball, every year they would sell pork butts.
Right?
And these were so good. We looked forward to it every year. Like everyone in our cove, like they were gonna buy one. Some people at work for both my parents.
Right?
It was something people look forward to every year, and those are good.
What other barbecue places?
The chef I work for argues that Elwood's has the best barbecue.
Elwood's does have very good barbecue.
Well, clearly they haven't been to our house now.
So to that end, my husband, who has a gift for gab and insatiable appetite for barbecue, started a barbecue food tour here in Memphis, where you go with a group of people and you sit for 3 to 4 hours and eat barbecue. You go to restaurant to taste all the differences. And talking about the origins of barbecue, where it came from, why it's important specifically to the Mid-South, and how it's important in Memphis now. As a incentive, I've got these little things right here. They are coupons for our food tour. And I think the guy who doesn't understand barbecue, wait, what's your name?
Gary?
Gary? This is for you.
Thank you very much.
Now, can anyone tell me how much money did I make per hour at my first job?
By the way, you didn't finish the question.
What?
$6.
No, not that one.
Oh,
3.2.
385, 386.
It's okay, I did dress up though. Throw that in there.
Don't be so.
Does anybody remember the name of the chef that is my mentor?
Oh, no.
False.
There you go.
It rhymes with smokes.
Chef Joffel.
You know that you answer the question.
Is it?
Okay, now I've got 2 different tours that I'm handing out. My husband's gonna be like, "You what?"
Surprise!
One is a barbecue tour, and the other one is a split decision tour. Split decision tour happens on Saturdays at 2 o'clock. If that doesn't work out, we'll call and we'll get your name on the list or the manifest. If that doesn't work out, we'll swap it out for another tour. We tour, oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. Yeah, this is working?
It went off because it was. It could.
Cut me back on, Mike. Okay, what other? Now, I taught in Thibodaux, Louisiana, but what was the name of the city that I moved to?
Baton Rouge. That's on Rouge. That's what I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No problem. Just doing what I do best. Be annoying.
Is it going to happen?
It will.
Okay.
Eventually.
There are tons of things to do at this university, in this community, tons of outreach.
Alright, I gotta go back and find it because it's been a while since I've been in this room. I know what it is.
Uh-huh,
Give me a minute.
uh-huh, maybe Oscar.
I got this.
The thing is even though it seems like there's so much to do and not enough time, after you graduate, you're gonna feel like, oh God, I wish I was back in school. I swore I was never gonna, I know you don't believe me, it's okay. You can come back in 10 years and be like, you were so right. The thing about it is I swore I was never gonna go back to school, ever, ever. Danced across my bachelor's graduation stage. They all thought I tripped. I'm like, no, I'm just that happy. And swore never say never, I'm never going back to school. And look at me, I spent 25 more years going back to school after I was out for 15.
You're still in school?
Yeah, I know. So, and my curse, my daughter wants to be a teacher. That's okay.
She always have a job.
Yeah, well, same thing with cooking. You never go hungry because you always know how to cook and you'll always have a job. It'll take you everywhere. I've been to 22% of the countries of the world cooking, being invited, being hosted, just because I could cook Cajun and Creole cuisine. Taught a Shanghai army how to make turduckets. I've never seen someone debone so many turkeys, ducks, and chickens so fast.
Have you changed the input?
Than
Yeah.
that.
Working it out.
But it was amazing.
I changed to make sure this is duplicating.
Anyone have any other questions?
Make sure this is duplicating, then making sure we're going through, make sure that.
Favorite place you've been to so far?
Make sure I have
Favorite
computer.
place for food?
Studying time, it was working.
Yeah. Oh, that's
man.
because
That's like, forget about it. I mean, we go to so many places. When we moved here, we thought we were gonna open up a restaurant. So we would go to restaurants and eat and be like, hey, I kinda like this. I don't wanna compete against them. And they're kind of fun. 256 restaurants later, we only found one that we didn't like and they're out of business now. Yeah. It took a year. And then after that, we birthed the
I didn't do
company
like that
of
before.
the food tours.
What it is, if you have to name one, don't say McDonald's.
Where do you go the most?
255 restaurants. Which one?
Man, I like the Majestic. I don't know.
You said Miami?
No, the Majestic? I like Elwood's.
Elwood's is good.
I like Guadalupana on Summer for their goat burritos.
We have really good goat cheese tamales at Bosco's.
My daughter loves Bosco's. So we always go out Sundays, it's too loud. I won't, it's too loud. But yeah. Have any of you guys eaten at Joe's right over here on Highland? Highland at Cowden? He has something called garlicky, buttery chicken that's served with jasmine rice and vegetables.
Are you
They're
sure?
good.
It's like an antique.
It's the
place.
antique store.
I park over there.
Excellent. But yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
So.
Is there a chef that you wish you could cook with? One of the chefs that was very inspirational was Jean-Louis Paladin. He was the former chef of the Watergate. He's passed now, but maybe him. He was very forward. And then Alice Waters from the California Fresh Foods Movement. And Julia. Julia Child?
Yeah. All right.
Doctor. I done did it.
Oh, there you go.
It took us. I know I got it.
All right.
Oh, dang.
But this, when you think about bye y'all. When you think about what are you gonna do, never in a million years did we think a business that we started with $4,000, $8,000 we would turn into, and first year we made about $400, right? And now we're knocking on 6 figures in terms of sales revenue. And if you want something to do, you can do it bad enough, you can just keep after it. And that's what my husband does. I answer the phone. Because he's not a good phone guy. Anyway, yeah, the emphasis is on the food. So, but find what makes you happy, go do it. But yeah, you need the degree first. You do. That's all I'm saying. Y'all get out of here. Thanks for coming.